Hi everyone, good morning. Today is 4th of January and I welcome you all to the Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. In this particular video, we are going to discuss entire analysis of Hindu newspaper, all articles along with the background as well as way forward we are going to take. And guys, also I would like to tell you that you can download the explainer notes of this particular session from Telegram channel. Okay, these explainer notes, they contain the summary of all important articles that have been there in simplified manner. We have presented all the articles and have removed the clutter which is not needed for UPSC examination. So you can download these particular notes from Telegram channel. Now guys, every class we start with the GS quotation, and today we are going to take quotation from Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Now, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar says that so long as you do not achieve social liberty, whatever freedom is provided by the law is of no avail. Now, social liberty, guys, understand this thing that in society, large number of people on them, lot of obstructions have been imposed by the virtue of their gender, by virtue of their caste, ethnicity, religion. So until and unless social liberty is not there in the society, other liberties, positive liberty, economic liberty is of no use. So first of all, social liberty is the foundation, it is the backbone of all the constitutional guarantees as well as liberty. You can use this article, this idea in GS paper number 2 as well as in essay and GS paper number 4. Now guys, in the class we take newspaper overview, but today there was some trouble in downloading the PDF from the Hindu's website. So therefore directly we'll be starting for today. Now starting up guys, first article that we are going to take, it is striking fear. Now this particular article we have taken from editorial section. Now, first of all, guys, before going in this particular article, let me explain you some basic background information and then we'll go in this particular article. So, what has happened recently? Government passed Bharatiya Nyay Samhita bill, and in this Bharatiya Nyay Samhita bill, there is one particular section that has not been liked by the drivers and truckers across the country, and that is, just a minute, and fine, and that is section number 106 of the Bharatiya Nyay Samhita, section 106 of the Bharatiya Nyay Samhita. Now, what is this section 106? Section 106, it is going to replace section 304A, and it deals with the cases of hit and run. Hit and run. So, what is hit and run? First of all, hit and run is an incident where a driver who was operating a vehicle has collided with a person, has caused an accident, and then rather than taking this person to hospital, that particular person has flown away from the site, has just flee away from that particular site. This is the hit and run. And we have seen that there are so many of the hit and run cases that have come to the limelight. And if I just give you the data, according to the National Crime Record Bureau report, every year 1.5 lakh accidents happen in the every year 1.5 lakh people die in the road accidents, and in many of these accidents hit and run cases are there. Fine, many people could be saved if they were rushed to the hospital, but drivers, rather than taking them to hospital, they just abandon them and run away from the site. So to deal with this hit and run cases, what has happened, this section 106 of the BNS, it provides, section number 106 of the BNS, it provides enhanced punishment. It provides enhanced punishment. First of all, let me explain you that what are the punishment. So it provides that if any person causes an accident, if a person causes an accident because of the rash driving or negligent driving, and then if that person escapes without reporting it to the police officer, then there will be the imprisonment which might extend to 10 year and fine up to 7 lakh rupees can be imposed on that particular person. Now, some people have liked this particular provision that hit and run cases will come down. Okay, the drivers will become more responsible. Drunken driving that happens, it will get reduced. It will act as a deterrent. Some people have liked it. But drivers and truckers across the country, now they have started a protest saying that this is a too harsh punishment that have been imposed on them, and often it might work counterproductive. Now, what actually is happening? What actually is happening around the country? Around the country, truckers, they are protesting. Around the country, truckers, they are protesting. Now, government has promised that it will take the consultations and it is going to consult the matter with the All India Motor Transport Congress, All India Motor Transport Congress. So basically guys, what have the issue that have come in this particular capacity? So basically the drivers and truckers, they say this particular thing. They say this particular thing that often drivers, they flee from an accident scene. Not always because they don't want to help, but there is always the fear of lynching. So for example, that a driver was going and accident happened, and let's say a person died. All the people who are in the surrounding, the people in the village, the people in the nearby town, they might come and they might carry the lynching of this particular driver. So in order to save their life, they flee away from that particular scene. Also, it has been provided that actually when we talk about the accidents in India, large number of them are avoidable. They are happening because of the poor road conditions. So it has been provided that rather than working on the poor road conditions, rather than ensuring that there are the engineering flaws that are there, what has happened, all the onus has been put on the driver. So rather than that there was need of a comprehensive accident prevention policy, and basically for enhancing safety, certain measures should have been taken and only punishment should not have been the way. So this is what has happening. Now over the days, as more consultations will happen, we will come to see that what actually happens. Okay, so this is guys all about this particular article. I hope that you have understood it. And now moving to the next article. The blood management system needs a fresh infusion. The blood management system needs a fresh infusion. Now we are going to take this particular article with respect to GS paper number 2, issues related to health. GS paper number 2, issues related to health. Guys, please download this synoptic notes from the Telegram channel. Now, before going in this article, let's take some basic background information, guys, first. So basically, the article talks about this particular thing, that as COVID pandemic happened, COVID pandemic has stressed the health infrastructure across the world. It has stressed health infrastructure across the world. And what has happened? What has happened now? There is a need for greater financing in the health. And by greater financing in the health, what can happen? Social justice can be provided to people. Ease of living for the people can be improved. Also, it has been provided that greater health financing is needed, and for that international collaborations are needed. Okay, dedicated assistance from developmental banks, donor agencies across the world, they are needed so that they can help developing countries in improve the condition of their health facilities. There is the need for adoption of digital health solutions, for example, telemedicine, teleconsultation. So people living in the far-flung areas, they can also get the medical assistance, often because physical hospitals, dispensaries are not there. Then also what is needed, there is also what are needed. Article says that actually there is one very important area that has not been focused, and this particular thing is the blood availability. Now understand, according to a WHO data, WHO provides this particular thing that there are global disparities in blood collection. Okay, there are developing countries where a lot of need of blood is there, but these developing countries don't have adequate blood units. Either collection is a problem or storage is a problem. Now, according to the article, it says that when we talk about the global population, fine, 14% of global population is in the African region. 14% of global population is in African region, but total blood collections, blood unit collections is just 5%. So global donations, only 5% of global donation, 5% of the global donations is happening in WHO, but they have the 14% population. So obviously there is a lot of disparity in the blood availability in Africa, and the same condition prevails in the developing countries such as India. Now when we talk about, guys, India has improved its blood management, and actually India is collecting more blood units. And when we talk about the WHO data, it provides that during 2019-20, India collected 1.27 crore blood units, which is a very good number, which is an improvement, but still there was the shortage of 6 lakh units of blood. So India also need to improve its blood management so that people can get the blood. For example, it has been provided by the article that in the case of an accident, 50 units of blood is needed. Similarly, blood is needed during surgeries, during during the cesarean section delivery, in the heart transplant surgery. Blood is needed in a lot of surgical procedures, but such shortage poses the danger to the life of the people. Now, article says this particular thing, that to improve the blood management in India, we need to opt for the public-private partnership model. Public-private partnership model where private sector can provide better management, logistics, better storage technologies, fine, to the government. Now, in this capacity, article has proposed the hub and spoke model for blood management. Now, what is hub and spoke model? So basically, there will be a high volume blood bank, okay, which is called as a hub, and then there will be spokes. Now I will explain you just in a minute. Okay, just let's take one example. Suppose this is Delhi. In Delhi, there can be a high volume blood bank, which will have thousands and lakhs of units of blood. Now, around the Delhi, there are some small towns. For example, let's say there is Meerut, there is Ghaziabad, okay, there is Meerut, Ghaziabad, Palwal, Bahadurgarh, many such small towns are there. So they need blood. So what can be done? So often, guys, see, basically these often there are the small towns, and in these small towns they might not have big blood banks. Also, when a blood bank is concerned, there is a lot of concerns with respect to storage, with respect to the management, with respect to the sorting of the blood, etc. So what could be done? So what could be done in this particular capacity? So they can get their bloods from this hub. They can get their blood on this particular hub. Okay, so this is the hub and spoke model. And it has been said that this hub and spoke model can be very important for the resource constrained low and middle income country. So it is not possible that you can have full-fledged blood bank facilities in all the cities, but you can develop one big in a nearby big metropolitan or big tier 1 city, and they can cater to all the nearby surrounding areas. So for the low and middle income countries which are resource constrained, it is very important model and can address the critical gaps in blood availability, blood distribution. Now understand this particular thing, that because of poor storage, because of poor management, a lot of blood has been lost. First of all, blood is such a crucial biological resource. But if we see the report by the government, we find this particular thing, that over the 3 years from 2014-15 to 16-17, 30 lakh blood units and related products were discarded. Why they were discarded? Because expiration, degradation during storage, the presence of infections such as HIV, syphilis was there. It was because of the blood was not properly processed once it was taken from a donor. So all these particular reasons led to discarding of the 30 lakh blood units in these 3 years. Approximately 10 lakh blood units are being discarded every year. Now just see, already we have a shortage of 6 lakh units on an average per year. But if this wastages could be avoided, then this shortage that is there could be very well managed. So therefore, effective blood management is needed, and hub and spoke model for storage and distribution can be an effective solution. Also guys, further it has been provided that there is also one more dimension, that often people are reluctant to donate the blood. And why they are reluctant to donate blood? Because there are a lot of myths and misinformations around the blood donation that prevails. For example, people think that if they will donate the blood, their immunity will be lost, they will become weak. Many of them think that they will get prone to more infections. Okay, so what we need the targeted awareness initiatives through the social media, through multilingual comics, through many other innovative measures. We need to aware people that how blood donation can save so many lives, and at the same time they will not be negatively impacted. And in this capacity, government and private sector needs to come out with the innovative solutions. Then guys, also it has been provided that political leaders, policy makers, they should immediately take the steps to strengthen the entire blood management setup in India. So this is a very important dimension of healthcare which has largely been either ignored or not been given attention. So that is all guys about this particular article. And now let's move to next article. Okay. the dispute on India's debt burden. The dispute on India's debt burden. Okay, so this is also an important article. Now, guys, before going in this particular article, let's first of all discuss some background of this particular article and then we'll go in this article. By the way, if you're following newspaper analysis regularly, you already know this particular background also. So, guys, what has happened recently? Recently, IMF, International Monetary Fund, it issued certain statements, and because of this particular statement, what happened, there was a kind of a controversy kind of a thing that happened. Now, first of all, it said this particular thing, that India's debt stability is India's debt scenario is destabilized. Now, what it means? So basically, IMF provided that in the adverse condition, India's debt to GDP ratio can reach to 100% by 2028. What it means in the most simple terms, suppose our GDP is 100 rupees, then the debt that India has taken will reach to 100 rupees. So debt to GDP ratio might go to 100% by 2028. Okay, many economists, they started criticizing the government. They said that government has carried fiscal mismanagement and because of that debt to GDP ratio will be 100%. Okay, second, it said that India's exchange rate is stabilized arrangement rather than floating. Now understand this thing, guys, that when we talk about exchange rate regime, what is the floating exchange rate regime? So basically, let's say you have dollar and you have rupee. Now there will be a particular value of dollar as well as rupee. Now often we say that the rupee's value has declined in the front of dollar. Why this happens? It happens on the basis of the demand and supply. Understand this thing. Whatever currency's demand will go up, that particular currency's value will also appreciate. Okay. For example, if everybody is demanding more and more dollar, dollar will get appreciated. If people are demanding more rupee, rupee will get appreciated. Now, guys, we have seen that recently there is rupee which has declined in the front of dollar. Rupee has declined in the front of dollar. Okay, now according to IMF, if government would not have intervened, the rupee's value could have declined even more. But government intervenes in between and artificially it manages the rupee's forex rupee's exchange rate. And okay, so therefore it has been called as a stabilized arrangement and it is not freely floating. Freely floating, what it means? It means that value of a currency will purely be determined by demand and supply. That is a free floating regime. But India is not following free floating. India is following the stabilized arrangement where RBI from time to time interferes in between and manages the rupees exchange rate, rupee dollar exchange rate, it interferes. Then now, because of this particular thing, what happened? There was a lot of economic furor that emerged in the country. Now, finance ministry, it refuted the IMF's projection and said that what IMF had said, that 100% debt to GDP ratio, it is a worst case scenario. Only there that happened. It is not a fait accompli. It is not bound to happen. Moreover, it has been provided by the government that actually India's debt condition has improved. And here if you see, we have the data also. Now, it has been provided by the union government that its debt is 155.6 trillion rupees, not dollar, it is rupees. Okay, fine. It was 57%. It was 57% of GDP in 2023 March. It is only union government's debt. Okay. Now the debt of state government was 28% of GDP. Okay. And public debt to GDP ratio, which includes both center and the state government's debt, it has increased from 81% in 2005-06 to 84% in 21-22. Just 3 percentage point it increased from 2005-06 to 2021-22. And then finance ministry said that actually it came back to 81% in 22-23. So the finance ministry is providing that actually in a nutshell, it was 81% in 2005-06 and it is 81% in 22-23. So we have done fiscal management in a good and effective manner. So no worry is there. There is no need to get concerned. Now, coming back. Now, guys, when we talk about United Nations projection, United Nations says this particular thing, that the countries are facing impossible choice of servicing their debt or servicing their people. Now see, whenever you take any loan, you have to pay that loan, and as well as you have to pay interest. Now millions and billions of dollars are being paid to service the debt, means just to pay the interest. Now you have the choice. Either you can use this $1 billion to pay your interest, or you could have used that money to improve health, to improve education, to provide a better skill development to the people. So this is something that is happening. Now, according to the United Nations, it has been said that 3.3 billion people living in the countries that spend more on interest payment than on education or health. Okay, so countries are spending more on interest payments than the education or health, and 3.3 billion people are living in such countries. Also, there is one issue that actually the debt of developing countries have increased faster than the debt of the developed countries. Now there is some particular reasons also in this particular direction. Let's understand this particular reason. Now guys, there are many reasons. First of all, if you see, right now we are moving, as climate change has become a big concern, we are moving to the energy transition. What is the energy transition? Under the energy transition, it is provided that what countries need to do? Countries need to adopt more and more clean technologies. Countries need to adopt more and more clean technologies. So for that, a lot of money is needed. In this, because of this, the debt will increase. Pandemic happened, and because of the pandemic, a large money was needed to respond to pandemic. A lot of loan was taken. Because of that also, the debt of developing countries have increased. Okay, moreover, there is also one more concern that has come in the context of India. What concern has come? Now the concern is of the credit rating for India. Now what is a credit rating? Okay guys, suppose one of your friend needs money. Actually, two of your friends need money. Okay, one of your friend has a flourishing business, there is some temporary mishap that has happened and he needs money. Okay, other friend, let's say, is unemployed, or other friend is in a business which is not flourishing that much, he also needs the money. Now when we talk about, you have to give money to both, and let's say you will charge interest rate. What will happen? You might charge less interest rate from that friend whose economic condition is good, but you will charge high interest rate from the friend whose economic condition is not good. Why? Because there is more chances that the default will happen in the second case. When your friend's economic condition is not good, the default might happen. He might not return the money, or he might return the money late. So high risk is there. So you will charge more interest rate. In the same way, what happens? There are credit rating agencies, and credit rating agencies give rating to the country dependent on their economic condition. And if a good rating is given to a country, means they will get debt at less interest rate. And if poor rating is given, means they will get debt as a high interest rate. Now, when we talk about, guys, credit rating of India, so Fitch and Standard and Poor S&P, they have given triple B minus credit rating to India. Now, this is the poorest investment grade rating. Fine. So basically countries are the one which are investment rated. Then there are the countries which are not investment rated, means you cannot do any investment. In the investment rated country, the lowest rating is the triple B minus, and this particular rating was given to India in 2006, and now we are in 2024. This rating has not been changed. Now because India's rating is not that much good, whenever India is taking the loan, India gets loan at high interest rate, and because of that particular thing also, the debt that India is getting, it is expensive for India, and it is putting in additional burden. So guys, recently what happened, chief economic advisor even criticized these rating agencies that you have not revised the India's outlook since 2023, sorry, since 2006. Okay, now this is something that has been provided. Now when if you remember, I just in the starting I told you that public debt to GDP ratio is 81%. Now it is being provided that actually it has also happened because of Fiscal Responsibility Budget Management Act. Now this particular act has specifically specified that what should be the maximum debt to GDP ratio. So it provided that for the center, debt to GDP ratio needs to be 40%. For states, debt to GDP ratio is to be 20%, and combined debt to GDP ratio is to be 60%. But anyhow, we are even above the 60%, that is around 81%. Now, it has been provided that, see, when we talk about India's fiscal condition, though tax collections have been good, and we have seen in the past few months that the GST collections have been robust in the case of India, but still there are concerns, and concerns are there that actually what has happened, though tax collection is good, but still there is a fear of fiscal slippage. Why? Because of high expenditure on employment guarantee scheme, MG Narega, high expenditure on subsidy, and this high expenditure will going to go up because 2024 is the election year. So according to India Ratings and Research, India's fiscal slippage is because of high expenditure on subsidies, high expenditure on MG Narega. Okay. Now, as guys, high expenditure is on the MG Narega, it also calls us to see the problems in this particular area. See, why MG Narega expenditure is high? Because more people need work under MG Narega. Now, question comes that why more people need work under MG Narega? It is simply because of the fact that unemployment is still a big problem in case of India. Okay, so that is all about it. And now moving to the next article. Okay, understanding the peace pact with ULFA. Understanding the peace pact with ULFA. Now we'll see this article with respect to GS paper number 3, internal security. GS paper number 3, internal security. Now guys, you might have seen this particular article multiple number of times. Earlier also we have taken it up. Today also this article has come in the text and the context section. Let's understand this particular article from the scratch. First of all, you need to know some basic background information. And guys, this basic background information is this. Number one, Assam has a unique culture, unique way of life, unique social setup. But what happened in 1960s, illegal immigrants from Bangladesh, they started to come and they started to settle in Assam. As they were settling in Assam, people in Assam, they felt that their culture, their demographic dominance and their economic opportunities will be deprived because outsiders are coming, they are taking jobs, they are bringing their culture, so the native culture will become less important, their numbers, they will become a minority. These fears came, and therefore what happened in 1970s, multiple organizations, they started protesting as why Bangladeshis are coming and settling in Assam. Okay, and there are many organizations that emerged. For example, ASU, All Assam Student Union emerged. All Assam Student Union emerged, and they started negotiating with the government that what government can do. There are some radical organizations that also emerged. Now, what are these radical organizations? United Liberation Front of Assam. United Liberation Front of Assam emerged as a radical organization in 1979. Now, what ULFA, what United Liberation Front of Assam demanded? They demanded that we want a sovereign state of Assam. They wanted to make a independent sovereign state, a nation out of Assam. Now, this is never accepted because India is a destructible, India is in a destructible union of destructible states. So, such question was never to be accepted. Now, understand this particular thing. That I told you that in 1970s, there were the protests that was going on. One type of people negotiated with government. One type of people said that we want the independence. Now, ASU, Government of Assam and Government of India, they were successful to come out with the Assam Accord of 1985. Assam Accord of 1985. Now, what was this Assam Accord of 1985? So, Assam Accord of 1985 came out with the three-pronged arrangement. Number one, the people who have come before 1966, they will be given citizenship. The people who have come from 1966 to 71, they can get citizenship if they fulfill certain condition. And the people who have come after 1971, they are to be deported back to Bangladesh. This agreement was arranged as per the Assam Accord. Now the radical elements did not like this. They were not acceptable that, see, in a way, people people till 1971 who have come, you are giving them citizenship. They are not acceptable to that idea. They become even more agitated. And what happened? They started carrying insurgency. Okay, and Arvind Rajakhova. Okay, please keep this name in your mind. Arvind Rajakhova, Anup Chetia, Paresh Barua. They formed ULFA. And launched an armed struggle against the government, and their objective was to establish a sovereign Assam. Fine. Now, Throughout 1980s, their armed struggle continued, and what government did? Government in 1990 came out with the Operation Bajrang, and the Operation Bajrang, under the Operation Bajrang, ULFA was banned, and it was Assam was declared as a disturbed area, and the AFSPA, Armed Forces Special Power Act, came under it was imposed on the Assam. Now, during this particular period, large number of ULFA members either they surrendered or they were captured. Okay, they were surrendered or they were captured. Now, understand this particular thing, that because of the terrain, because of the geography, they tried to take advantage of it. And what many of them did, they established their camps in Bhutan, Bangladesh, Myanmar region. But Bhutan in 2003 and Sheikh Hasina led Awami League government post 2009 has started cooperating with the government, and a large of ULFA members, they were flushed out. And what happened? What happened in 2005? In 2005, ULFA, it formed 11-member People's Consultative Group. But, and this People's Consultative Group expected to carry the peace negotiations, but then it got failed. And guys, what happened finally? Raj Khova led faction. So if you remember, I told you the name of Arvind Raj Khova. So under the ULFA, Raj Khova was a supporter. They said that, okay, we will negotiate peace agreement with the government of India. Okay, so peace talks started in 2011. Now, as the peace talks were starting in 2011, one of the other member of ULFA that I told you in the start, Paresh Barua. Now, Paresh Barua was not agree for these peace talks. And Paresh Barua very clearly provided this particular thing, that peace talks cannot be carried. And therefore, what happened? The group, the ULFA, which was led by Paresh Barua, it became ULFA I. It became ULFA I. ULFA I means ULFA independence. That our demand is of independence. So it became ULFA I, and Raj Khova faction, it started peace negotiations with the government of India. Okay. Now, guys, what happened in 2023? In 2023, finally, the memorandum of understanding has been reached between ULFA, government of Assam, and government of India. And ULFA, led by Arvind Raj Khova, has said that we will renounce violence, we will disarm, we will disband our entire armed organization, we will vacate the occupied camps, and will participate in the peaceful democratic process established by the law. In return, government has provided that a package of 1.5 lakh crore rupees will be given for the all-round development of Assam, And also it has been provided that maximum representation will be given to indigenous communities in the Legislative Assembly of Assam. Specifically, they had said that migrants who have come, particularly the migrant Muslims, they need to be kept out from the Legislative Assembly. So this is something that has been agreed. Now, this particular peace agreement is being called as a victory, but many of the specialists, they have pointed to a very important thing, that actually, though yes, it is a kind of a victory, but ULFA independence, which is led by Paresh Barua, it still has 200 armed cadres, and it might not allow this peace to last. So therefore, how Paresh Barua faction can also be brought for negotiation, this is to be seen and this is to be identified. So that is all, guys, about this particular article. I hope that you have understood it. And now moving to the next article. Why is upskilling necessary for the rural youth? Why is upskilling necessary for the rural youth? Now, this particular article we are going to take with respect to GS paper number 2, social justice. Okay. Now, so basically guys, see this thing, that right now urbanization is a big force that India is facing. So when we talk about urbanization, according to United Nations, it projects that 50% of the Indian population will be living in urban areas by 2047. According to Niti Aayog, it is said that 31% of India's population is living in the urban areas. Anyhow, urban population is increasing. People from rural area, they are migrating to urban area. But at the same time, large number of people, they still prefer to live in rural areas. Many childhood, they want to supplement their family income, and they want to work on the family owned farms. But at the same time, we see that agriculture distress is going on right now, and already agriculture faces the problem of the disguised employment, where more people are working. If I tell you 56% of people in India, they are working in agriculture and related activity, but it is not needed. These many people are not needed in agriculture sector. Now, also we find this particular thing that large number of people in rural areas, what they are doing, they are quitting agriculture and they are joining the non-farming jobs. They are joining the non-farming jobs. And according to the data by National Sample Survey Office, NSSO, it provided that 34 million farmers have left their farms and have transitioned to other sectors such as the construction sector between 2004-5 to 2011-12. Now, point is that agriculture is facing distress. People are moving to other sector, but even in the other sector where they are moving, they are not moving to sector which are lucrative. They are moving to sectors such as construction worker, fine, such as manual laborers, etc. So point is that their economic condition is not getting improved. Their economic condition is not getting improved. Now a question comes that why they are moving to these sectors such as construction worker, etc. Because skill is not there. Because skill is not there. So understand this particular thing, that if we want to ensure that people in rural areas stay in rural areas, we need to focus on few things. Number one, we need to give them skills so that they can practice that skill and can make higher earning. Secondly, rural industries, cottage industries are needed to be promoted in the rural areas because agriculture distress is there, that is to be removed. But anyhow, people are to be removed from agriculture sector to the manufacturing sector, and therefore rural industries, cottage industries are to be promoted. But before that, skill is to be given to the people in rural areas. Now, right now, when we talk about the arrangement that is there for skilling the people in rural areas, we have that vocational education is being provided by the industrial training institutes, ITIs. Now they are providing the vocational skills, but often they don't provide placement opportunities. So often people are learning these skills, but they don't have any place to go. So now the article is saying that we need to come out with a system that how rural education, how rural employment, and how rural skilling can be improved. And what we need to focus? We need to focus that we provide vocational skills as well as practical life skills also to be provided to the students. And in this capacity, there is a case study of Mexico. So there are Mexico's teleschools that are there, and Bhutan's well-being infused curriculum that is there. Now these teleschools of Mexico, what they provide the lessons, fine, they provide the lessons in the subject matters, they provide the practical skills, they provide them academic knowledge, also they are providing them the values, okay, value-based secondary education they are providing, okay. Also, as the skills are being provided, what has happened, they are getting better skilled and getting more economic opportunities. Now, in India, NIIT and Pratham Institute, they are working with children in rural areas and are providing them upskilling opportunities. And by providing them upskilling opportunities, they are getting practical skills in the field of agricultural mechanization, pollution monitoring, nursing, digital technologies. All this they are learning through e-learning, and by these high skills they can enter the job market and can promote the rural economies. So therefore, more such initiatives need to be focused, and government also need to give a dedicated effort in this particular direction. So that is all, guys, about this particular article. I hope you have understood it. And now moving to the next article. Caste discrimination in prisons need to be addressed, says Supreme Court. Now this article will see with respect to GS paper number 2, social justice. So basically, guys, the Supreme Court, it has pointed out that even in the prisons, caste based discrimination of prisoners is going on. It has been provided that prisoners, what happens, they are segregated on the basis of caste, and in the prison manual work is also given to them on the basis of caste. For example, it has been provided that denotified tribes, they are treated as still as habitual offenders, okay. Also, it has been provided that the prison manuals in more than 10 states have provisions which sanction discrimination and forced labor on the grounds of caste in prison. So for example, what is happening, many number of times Dalit communities, they are being given the work, they are given the menial kind of a work, okay. Such things are happening, okay. Also, guys, it has been provided in this particular capacity that what happened in many of the states, there is still the there are still the provisions where separate separate enclosures are there, separate jails are there, separate cells are there for the people belonging to the Dalit community. So the jail manuals, prison manuals are to be revised. Okay, so for example, it has been provided that, for example, as per the Rajasthan prison rules, it has assigned mehtars to the latrines, and high caste Hindu prisoners, they have been attached to the kitchens. So such kind of discrimination, such kind of a hierarchy based division in prisons should not be allowed by the as per the Supreme Court. Now this one dimension you can add. Okay, now moving on, 50% of cybercrime plaints originate in China, pockets of Cambodia and Myanmar. So you can use this particular article as a data in your GS paper number 3, cyber security and cyber threats, cyber security and cyber threats and related issues. Now what has happened? So recently what has happened, cyber crime coordination center, I4C, cyber crime coordination center, which works under the Ministry of Home Affairs, it has released the report, and according to the report by crime coordination center, they provide that 50% of the cyber crime complaints that are originating in India, these cyber frauds that have happened, they originated in Cambodia, Myanmar and the pockets of China. These people are operating from there. They are operating from there. Now when we talk about the people who have been affected by the cyber frauds, they can report their online frauds on cybercrime.gov.in or 1930 helpline. So out of the total complaints that have been made on 1930 helpline, when these complaints were traced, it was found that the offenders of these particular cyber crimes, they were in Cambodia, China, etc. Now moving on in this particular capacity, okay, we have this article, 55% patients given antibiotics only as a preventive measure, says survey. Very important article for GS paper number 2 health. GS paper number 2 health and related issues. GS paper number 2 health and related issues. So basically guys, what has happened recently, Health Ministry has released the result of survey which was conducted by National Center for Disease Control, NCDC. So National Center for Disease Control has released this particular survey, and as per this particular survey, it has been provided that 94% of the patients who were admitted to the hospital or who visited a doctor, 94% of the patients, they were given antibiotics before the confirmation of a medical diagnosis or before finding that there was infection. 94% are being given antibiotics just as a preventive measure. Suppose you are going to the doctor and you are ill, you will be given antibiotics first, even when it has not been found that whether bacterial infection is there or not. As a measure, as a preemptive measure, antibiotics are being prescribed. In only 6% cases, antibiotics were prescribed after a specific bacterium was identified. After specific bacterium was identified. Now guys, understand this particular thing. The biggest pandemic that right now we are facing is antimicrobial resistance that might emerge. Now understand this particular thing. See, suppose a person got bacterial infection. Now if you take the antibiotic, this bacteria will be killed. But over a period, this bacteria will evolve itself and will become resistant to the antibiotic. So what happened after some time, the antibiotic, first line of antibiotic, which was working against this bacteria, it will not work. Then you need the second line of antibiotic. If you abuse that, then again the bacteria will get used to this second line of antibiotic also. And then there is the final line of antibiotics. And if the bacteria get used to this also, then the infections could not be treated and people will die because of the common bacterial infections. Okay, so point is that you will lose the potency. People will lose the potency to get treated by the antibiotics if such indiscriminate prescription of antibiotics would be there. Now, WHO, World Health Organization, has identified that antimicrobial resistance is top threats to the public health. And what is antimicrobial resistance? It is a natural phenomena where bacteria evolve and the drugs used to treat them become less effective. And why it happens? It happens because of the abuse of antibiotics. Okay, so NCDC survey finds this particular thing, that across the hospitals, wide variations are also there. In some of the hospitals, for example, 37% of the patients were in prescribed antibiotics, but in some hospitals, 100% patients were prescribed antibiotics. So when we talk about NCDC, NCDC, it is a nodal agency to implement India's national program on antimicrobial resistance containment, and for that it releases survey from time to time. It releases survey from time to time. Okay, and also it has established National Antibiotic Consumption Network. National Antibiotic Consumption Network, and this National Antibiotic Consumption Network compiles the data, report that how many people are consuming antibiotics, and on that basis the report is released. So that is about it. Now, moving to the next article, the main practice question for today. How can youth in rural India be made employment ready? What skills they need to acquire and how government and NGO facilitate this? So you can take this article question for GS paper number 2. It is a 10 marker question. So that is all guys about it. And with this, we come to an end to the today's session. I hope guys that you have understood it, and I hope that you have liked the session. If you have liked the session, please do like the video, and also please do leave your lovely comments. Fine. Thank you so much. Now we'll meet tomorrow.